Hello.
Hey, Gonzo.
Jeff, how you doing?
Very well. Great to talk to you. First question. We have some new Armored Saint things going on right here in November 30th, looks like. Starting in the East here for some cool showcasing going on. Can you talk about that a little bit and how you guys feel about it?
Sure. This is our first time in the East Coast for a long time. We'll be playing Amityville, New York, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and then Manhattan and New York. That one's at the Webster Hall at the Studio, I believe it's called. So we're really excited about that. Life takes its toll, and everybody, some people have family, everybody gets busy, and rock and roll somehow gets hit. But we're very blessed to be able to get together and go out and play these shows. We just did a little run in Germany, and that was in August. Now we'll be in the East Coast in November. There's talk that we may do some Midwest stuff in February, and we are definitely going back to Europe in July of 2012. So,
that's great.
Yeah, so it's not like a world tour like I would like to have it, but at least it's something, and I'm very, very thankful and grateful for any time that we can play Armored Saint music and have people come out and enjoy it. Even though it's rare, but when it's there, definitely I encourage people to come out and rock it out with us.
Excellent. So Gonzo, that also may be connecting then within this freshness and rebirth again. Next year marks a 30th kind of reunion for you guys as far as the Massacre 2. Is there an anniversary planned also?
Right now, there's not talk of that, but definitely because it is 30 years and seems like a flash, but we don't know. I don't know at this time, but it's something to consider.
Yeah, cool. But the focus then is November 30th at Ollie's Point Bar, Amityville, New York. December 2nd at the Crocodile Rock, Allentown, Pennsylvania. And December 3rd at the Studio, that's Webster Hall, and that should be awesome there. I've played there, and it's pretty crazy. That's the old Ritz, I think. What a place. Let's still talk about what's going on with that. Are you indoors still on your drums? What kind of drum kit are you hailing on there?
Well, you know what? This is a special sort of event. We're playing with Jack Frost and his band Seven Witches.
Wow.
And, to make it at least painless as possible, we are going to be using his gear. So I'll be playing on a drum set that's a little bit alien to me, but that's okay because, I'm kind of used to it. We did the same thing in Australia where we rented drum sets every show.
Sure.
And so I was playing on a different drum set every show. It's a challenge, but I did it. So these next shows we'll be playing on Jack Frost's gear, and we're really, again, thankful to him for making that happen so we can actually go down there and make it cost-effective to jam out.
Sure. Do you bring a tech with you when you have to do that?
Yeah, I definitely bring in my tech. His name is Jonathan Saxon. He's also a drummer, but he's an amazing tech and a good friend. So we'll be blessed to have him on board for the little run that will be there.
Totally. There's nothing like a great tech, man.
Yeah, we came up with our drum tech company, which is called the Ninja Drum Tech Team USA.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll use you when I come out to LA sometime. I just did a techless show in Chicago. I'm out on the very far East Coast. I'm in Maine talking to you right now.
Wow.
And, oh man, A show without a tech is horrible, you know. Stop in between songs, talk and chat while you're fixing your bass drum pedals and.
Right, yeah, it's essential because we pound on things for a living. So if you pound on things, you know, it moves and breaks and all kinds of stuff.
Still questioning in modern Armored Saint, this new millennium. New recordings coming out as well during this section in all of your lives there.
Yeah, well, you mean what other projects am I involved with, or Armored Saint related?
Armored Saint related. We're going to get to your personal things in a sec too, with your photography and things. The question's more related to Armored Saint recordings and maybe members of Armored Saint. Anything changed? You know, other than the tragedy, you know, the history stuff that we'll get to in a sec. But new Armored Saint recordings and members that are in the band.
Well, we have all the original members, except obviously David is in heaven right now, and we've been with Jeff Duncan for over 12 years now, so he's definitely a permanent member. And as far as new material, we recorded the La Raza record, and that's really all that we've done as far as new material. So we haven't really touched on anything new other than just getting together and playing live and promoting the La Raza record, which is on Metal Blade Records, and it's really one of the best experience that I've experienced in the recording of it. And we did it with Brian Karlstrom, John Nuss, and Annette Cinceneros over at Transformer Studios in Burbank. It's one of the best recording studios in the world. He's got everything you'll ever need.
Awesome. That was released La Raza, right?
Right.
Released March 16th, 2010. This will be great then. They can everyone can get into that live and really punch that up some then. Cool. Let's talk about Armored Saint history. One of the main things a lot of people don't realize is that you guys went through, and this, a few people I've talked to this, that they have lost members in their band. Lizzie Borden was one of them. And let's talk about the tragedy here, you know, with Dave Pritchard and what you guys went through. This is a tough probably thing for you to probably talk about, but can you tell us how that felt and how long that took for that whole, from knowing he had leukemia? This is your guitar player. Give us some of that.
Well, we met him in high school. He was, one of the founding members with myself, my brother Phil Sandoval, the other guitar player, and David. We started Armored Saint, and then brought in John Bush, and then finally Joey was the last one to join Armored Saint. And it was really tough. You know, he had been going through some headaches and stuff while we were writing for a new record. We ended up writing about 24 songs in about 2 years, and during that period is when he revealed to the band that he had leukemia. So, you know, at certain times, you know, the band he had asked for some money for the doctor bills, and of course we totally said go for it. And you know, it was a very, very obscure situation because we're writing great music. He was recording it. He was a master at recording demo 4-tracks that sounded like real records. And so he's just an amazingly creative person, and, you know, the world definitely lost big-time artists. But anyway, so he told us that he was going through that. He still wanted to write. He didn't want to, like, change his schedule or try to... He was a fighter, so he was always trying to beat that. And, you know, in the end, there was a donor that was found that supposedly was a perfect match, a 6 out of 6 graft, and unfortunately, the donor backed out at the last minute, but everything had already been prepped. They found another one, which was not a perfect match. It was more like 5 out of 6. And they went for it, and it didn't graft, and he ended up passing away. So it was a very tough situation because there's a lot of happy things going on around with the music and stuff, but it's just hard not to feel sad and feel the effects of someone as your brother and your family, you know, being ill. So, you know, we just kind of didn't do much for a couple of years, and finally we had all those songs written, and the way things worked out, you know, we brought my brother back in the band because he was out of the band for a while, and then we brought Jeff in, and we recorded one of the best records called Symbol of Salvation, again with Brian Karlstrom and Dave Jordan producing, and which was a small unique circle there of 20 years. You know, we did the Symbol of Salvation in 1990, and then, and then we did the La Raza in 2010. So with the same people, and it was just really awesome, and to be involved with them. I just love recording at Transformer Studios in Burbank. Again, he's got all the gear, all the vintage gear. He's one of the best top music people in the world that I know, as far as creation, recording, and just it's an amazingly creative building.
Yeah, it sounds like an excellent place. You know, probably comfortable too. Sometimes studios, recordings can see you can leaving the studio, you're risking your life, you know, wherever you're at.
yeah. It's definitely awesome. You know, and again, I myself feel very grateful to be able to play Armored Saint music, you know, all these years later, and have people still love it, and you know, so I'm really thankful, and I feel very blessed. I thank the Lord for all the gifts that He's bestowed upon me, and talent-wise, and I just want to use them to the best of my ability and be the best me that I can be, and share it with the people who are interested in it.
I can't remember if we met at the Troubadour or something like that, or at Brian Slagle's house, but I'm going to segue that to something that's kind of a crazy story that's on the wiki, and it talks about either your brother getting in a tiff with Lars. And let me say, if the story is that Phil broke his ankle, Dave Mustaine broke his ankle in a fight or something. Yeah,
there's a whole story with that. We used to get together over at Brian Slagle's house, and you know, just have a good time and party, and Megadeth, Metallica, Armored Saint. You know, we'd just be all partying it up, and for some reason at that time we just all loved to dogpile on each other. Don't ask me why. But so we're having one of those sessions in the living room, and I guess you know, everybody's all over each other, and it was all in good humor. I think Dave Mustaine saw Phil knock Lars down or something, and for whatever reason he took it personal, because everybody was knocking everybody around, and Phil was caught in the pile. And unfortunately, Dave had a thought or something that, you know, Phil hit Lars and knocked him down, and so he's going to get back at him, and he saw Phil in a predicament, and then he just went over and just went straight for his leg and broke his ankle.
And I heard that he had to play. You guys had to play or something.
Yeah, we had to play the next day, so Phil had to play on a stool, and he, at that time, you know, didn't really know that it was broken, but it just got swollen and swollen and swollen, so the next day we took him to the hospital, and sure enough, it was broken.
That's it. It's, you know what, you just repeated the story almost word for word. Betsy Bitch had said it in an earlier interview. I mean, almost like 6 months ago. So she was there.
Yeah, she was there, But, you know, Phil has since talked to Dave Mustaine, and the closure of the story, which is really awesome of Dave Mustaine to do, is he felt really sorry, and many, many, many years later, backstage, I think at a Judas Priest concert or something, you know, he wanted to apologize to Phil, and he said, anything you want, you know, I'll give you. And then, so Phil said, what about a guitar? So nothing happened for a while, and then at the NAMM show that following year, one of our friends, unfortunately, his name's Ronnie Bear, he passed away as well after the NAMM show, but of shoulder cancer, which is strange. But anyway, he hit up Dave Mustaine, and he said, hey, you owe Phil a guitar, and Dave Mustaine kind of jumped back and said, oh, well, have Phil call me. And so we did, and Dave Mustaine honored what he had said. So he talked to Phil, and Phil talked to him, and he said, call my guitar tech. He called him. 2 days later, the guitar tech delivered an awesome ESP guitar to Phil at his home. And Phil thanked him, and Dave asked him, is this closure? And it was. So that whole thing is done, and, you know, unfortunately, but it happened, and, you know, we're young kids, and, you know, how things happen. But it got closed. It's a good deal now, and, you know, blessings to all of us.
Awesome. Gonzo, that was cool. There's so many things that are cool about that whole fun story there, is that when Trouble came out for the first time and played the Trube, and then we played, I guess, with an early Megadeth version of Megadeth, people dogpiled.
Yeah, it's weird. The early stages of what turned into moshing.
Yes. And our roadies didn't know what that was, and they were really freaked out. I forgot we were playing in Palo Alto and with Slayer and Megadeth, and we saw what you were talking about. But it's all, everyone had a grin on their face. Everyone's smiling, so it's so funny that you tell that story. And Betsy tells it really cool, too. A lot of people out there don't know about early California moshing. I really think it started westerly. Well, it probably started in punk in England.
Well, yeah. It just for the U.S. it was just dogpiling that eventually, you know, turned into pushing, and then people got like a thrill out of it, and then all of a sudden it developed its own moshing style, and you know, so
spirals and pits and craziness, man.
Spirals and pits and hitting each other and pushing each other, and that's supposed to be fun. So myself, I never really got it. I was more into listening to the musicians and enjoying the music and learning and feeling the vibe. And, you know, if somebody hit me, I'm going to hit back. But, you know, I don't equate that as hey, I'm having fun. It's more like self-defense.
Me too. I mean, it's like the two live Deep Purple albums we probably both grew up with, Made in Japan and Made in Europe.
Yeah. One,
it's ballistic looking, you know, everyone's flipping out, and the other one, they're sitting down watching. The album covers, you know.
That's trippy.
More Armored Saint history. Gonzo, what do you think would be the band's favorite piece or album or part of your history there? Can be a song or an album.
A song or an album. As far as like heartfelt stuff, I really like Another Day, which is on the Symbol of Salvation record. It's a ballad, but, you know, the meaning of, you know, longing for another day, you know, David Pritchard really fought for his life, and just to have another day of life was, you know, motivation for that song. So it brings back a lot of cool stuff. Dave plays amazing guitar on the demo, and Jeff and Phil did a really righteous job on the recording. So that's a good song. As far as a record, I'd have to say right now, for for a lot of reasons. I think Delirious Snowman's one of my favorite, along with Symbol of Salvation. But I have to say right now, La Raza is one of my favorite because of the way it was recorded and the way it turned out.
What is the story of your early music training and your family like that?
Early stuff, Phil's my older brother. He got into guitar. Actually, I started getting into guitar like in 6th grade. Eventually, I did want to play drums, so around that time, my mom had lent me half the money to buy a drum set. Unfortunately, it's this funny story that went along with it. The day I was going to go get it, Bill and I were young kids who were playing on these trees in our front yard, decided to do a Tarzan thing and drop a rope between the trees, tie it down, and just go across, you know? So, so he did it, and then it was my turn, and my dad was there right now. My dad passed away almost 4 years ago. Rest in peace. But I asked him, hey, just stand underneath the tree in case I fell. I was in like 10 years old or 12 years old or something like that. And then he said, you could do it, He gave me some confidence. So I did. I went for it. But unfortunately, the rope was below where I was sitting. So when I went down to hang on to the rope and just hang, I slipped and I fell and I broke both my wrists. Yeah, it was a sad situation. And so as I'm lying there and going to the hospital, I tell my brother, if it's a good drum set, just get it, So he went with my mom and they looked at the drum set. I came home with casts and he was already playing on the drum set, and it was a cool little Gretsch jazz kit that I loved, which, 3 months later I was on it and then never looked back. It's funny stuff, but no, we're not twins. He's been in Armored Saint since the beginning. Like I said, he's a founding member along with David Pritchard and myself, and then Bush, and then Joey, and then that was it. That's Armored Saint.
That's cool, bro.
Dave Papp came in, Jeff Duncan.
Jeff Duncan. Yep. Musical training for you and your brother, was it? Or is it records? And it's all good. There's no, you know what I mean? No, it's not derogatory or anything. Any lessons or any cool stories of training or learning? How you guys learned?
Let's see. We were very blessed to be able to, at a young age, have Hollywood and the Starwood, in which, we frequented a lot. And one of our dreams was just to play the Starwood on a weekend because it's just an amazing club. Well, thank God that we did not play the Starwood. It closed down before we came up, but we managed to play all over the world in bigger and bigger places and concerts, and it grew into something really bigger than we all had anticipated in the beginning. As far as musical training, I did take a couple of lessons from Roy Burns, from a drummer named Jimmy Volpe, and basically I was self-taught with all the concerts we'd go to and shows. I'd really pay attention to the drummers, and Leonard Hayes was influential, and we got to see Tommy Lee when he was with Sweet 19, and Joey actually played in a group with Tommy Lee before Tommy Lee joined Motley Crue. It's just an amazing school of musicians that were all just playing and doing their thing, and then we were young kids just coming up into the scene, so. We had a lot to learn, and we're still learning. But one of my dreams was to go to the Berklee School of Music. That didn't happen, or MI. That didn't happen. Musicians Institute. But I have been learning on my own, and I feel blessed. I think it's a natural talent that God has bestowed upon me and my brother and all of us. So. Now I'm going back and I'm learning theory and harmony and just nailing it. So
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Do you do sight singing? And you know what I didn't even ask about, Gonzo? Do you do backing vocals or anything too, or not?
Yeah, I do. I do backing vocals. I got into engineering, producing. There's all kinds of stuff that I do now. But back then it was just mainly drums and background vocals.
Sure. So as you train in theory, do you work on ear training and those kinds of concepts nowadays?
Nowadays, I'm actually playing a lot of guitar and singing worship songs, believe it or not. I feel very connected when I do that. And it also helps in the ear training in melodies, vocal melodies, and just playing guitar and singing. You know, it's a challenge, but the more and more you do it, the better you get. And I find that the worship songs that have already been written allow me to just focus on trying to play the song the best possible, rather than trying to create a melody, write a song, and then make it happen. So these songs are already written. They're praising Jesus Christ, the Lord our God, and so I feel really awesome in learning music and with a great message.
Well, that's beautiful. There's nothing like good worship music. Bruce Franklin of Trouble does the exact same thing. He is in a worship group out in the Midwest. What a beautiful thing. I think lots of people have a strong faith. I just interviewed Uli Roth, and the statements we're about to get into as we move into the close of this is where you're really going to shine on what we say to the world on this too, for you to say all kinds of things you want to say. And Uli surprised me. I thought he was more of a spiritualist, but it was neat that it was neat what he said, like some beautiful material that we're hearing from great musicians in classic metal. Wow, the spirits that their hearts are just shining. You're one of them. Yeah. It sounds like there.
Awesome. Well, I mean, music is a language that goes beyond just verbalization. Music is felt. Music draws emotion. It's the only language in the world that you can play anywhere and it could be understood. If you're speaking Russian in Mexico, that might not go over well, but if you play any music in either Russia or Mexico, people get it. So it's a very, very, very special, magical, spiritual a necessity to humans, I believe, and we use it in all kinds of different ways.
Let's do some humor stuff before we close with some serious stuff. What we do is apples and oranges.
All right.
And basically, it's mostly musical in nature, but there might be food thrown in there and kind of other things, and it's not long. So apples and oranges, what I'll do is I'll say two things, and you just choose one of the two.
All right.
Are you ready? The first one, and there's no reason that they're in this order, okay? But here it goes, and they're hard. Lars Ulrich or Sean Drover?
Lars Ulrich.
Metal Blade or Chrysalis?
Metal Blade.
Ah, yeah! That's fun. Steak or salad?
Which one?
Steak or salad?
Steak. I'm a carnivore.
Steak. He's a carnivore. And then here's one. Betsy Bitch or Lita Ford?
Wow, that's not going to get me in trouble, is it? Lita Ford.
You said Lita Ford. Okay. You surprised us here. James Hetfield or Dave Mustaine?
James Hetfield.
This one, we're just going to say alcoholic beverages or non-alcoholic beverages?
Non-alcoholic.
Okay, cool.
Green non-alcoholic beverages.
Green ones, healthy. Excellent, excellent. That's it for apples and oranges.
I did want to mention a couple other things that I'm doing.
Yes, please do that.
So right now, I'm actually co-producing a record called Native Night with my other band called Black Raven. My brother Phil is playing guitar. We have Daniel Hicks, who is from Sedona, Arizona, whose dad is Patrick Hicks, who started Musicians Institute and eventually sold it to ESP Japan for lots of dough. So he's an American Indian flutist, and we're merging rock and roll with traditional American Indian flute music and creating a kind of hybrid original musical form, I guess. And we have 7 songs in the can. We have 5 more that we're going to finish up. And 2012, it'll be released. I'm really excited about that. And it's very, I would say 180 degrees the other way from Armored Saint. It's me. The reason I got involved is I wanted to be involved with music that would have a healing quality, and that's the undertow that I had mentioned to Daniel when we started the project. Him and I are co-producing it, and we recently were nominated for Instrumental Band of the Year at the Los Angeles Music Awards, which was this past Thursday, and good things are happening next year involving that whole scene. Let's see. Besides that, we also have another band called the Jam Band with our friends Frank Matranga and Kurt Miner. And it's where we rehearse. It's their studio, and we're very thankful. They let us play there, and we get to play together. And we're doing a bunch of covers, very classic rock and roll. All the songs are amazing. Some 70s music, 80s music, 90s music, 2000. And we got like 20 songs, so that's our cover band. So Black Raven, Jam Band, and I'm also shooting a lot of pictures nowadays.
That's what we heard. So what kind of photography? Is it all the above kind of photography, or just special shots, arts?
Well, I'm assisting my sister, Gonzo Sandoval Photography. She shoots weddings, so I'm her assistant on a shoot on Saturday, and I've done a couple other things with her. She's amazing. Check her out at gonzosandoval.com. I also have my website, which is gonzosandoval.com. And I have family stuff up there. I have landscapes and a lot of rock and roll. So portraits, anything in photography is I'm gravitate to. It's something that we have. It's like, I think it's called photophilia. So the need to shoot pictures. But yeah, I more and more I get into it. It's just another extension of my creative output, whether it's music or photography or whatever else I do. I want to do it to the best of my ability, and of course with God's blessing, number one, all the time.
What would you like to say, Gonzo, right now to close to the entire internet world out there? When I air this, it airs at different time zones so that it can pop into New Zealand, it can pop, into, New York, it can pop into Germany, and it's worldwide. What would you like to say to the world out there right now, Gonzo?
Wow, man, I would just like to say, number one, praise God. Just being closer and closer to walking with God it just frees up everything. I think that God wants us to have everything in this world. That He did an amazing thing and sacrificed His only Son so that we all can be forgiven of our sins. That's a concept that I think people should look into. and get close to God. I think through God, it's music, it's life, it's love, it's family, it's friends, it's everything that feeling good is about. And that's what I found, and I just want to share that excitement. And if people are looking for something, they just got to look in their heart and allow God and the Holy Spirit to enter in and watch miracles happen. To some people, that might just be words, but if you are touched by the Holy Spirit, then those words will become your reality. I love music. I love photography. I'm a creative individual. I'll fight to the end to protect my creative baby, and look forward to feeding my creative sense every day.